this is going to give you a headache. You're going to want to go up to a wall and just bash your head against the wall. But we're going to watch it with a smile on our face because that's Canada. Okay. Green Party leader Elizabeth May, who just voted in favor of the government's budget, $80 billion deficit, is now angry because she's not getting what she wants out of that deal. So she's now saying she won't ever be voting in favor of confidence for the government again. I don't understand how this makes sense. It's all scripted. It's all weird, but let's have a look anyways and let's dissect it.
Green Party leader Elizabeth May says voting for the federal budget was a mistake. After lending the Liberals last-minute support, she was the only opposition MP to vote in favor. This after first saying there was no way she'd support it.
Like this? Yes. This I cannot vote for. But reuse, recycle, rewrite, maybe I can vote for it.
Then on the day of the vote, she changed her mind after conversations with the Prime Minister.
Against what I had expected to say to you today, I'm going to vote yes. For the country, for the planet, and for my hope in the future. The Liberals can't count on me voting confidence in the government again without delivering on the words I heard.
It's just so freaking funny. Being so against it, being so against the budget and so against what it stood for, stomping on it. And imagine going out to the bar and the goal is to pick up some chicks with your buddies. All right, we're gonna go to the bar, a bunch of single boys, we're going to the bar, we're all straight, we're all gonna go pick up chicks. And you get to the bar and you get shy. Okay, you're shy around the chicks, the pretty girls, and all of a sudden your buddy's got chicks, but you're like, I'm not gay, but I'm gonna pick up a dude. And then you get angry later at the fact that you picked up a dude instead of a chick. I don't know. Is that a good analogy or not for Elizabeth May? She consistently says that she is green, that she is against carbon emissions, that she is for saving the planet. She even said, I can't vote for this budget because it will affect my granddaughter's life and I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I voted for it. Fast forward to the day where the vote happens. I am voting for it. We all saw the same thing, right? We see how hypocritical that is. Am I going crazy here? Because I feel like I'm going crazy. It feels like Canadian politicians don't really have balls. They don't have anything to stand on. They just cave in. They go back to old reliable, always. And then they regret it time and time again. Elizabeth May is a drug addict equivalent, okay? She's hooked to the government crack cocaine, heroin, whatever you want to say. And she keeps saying she's going to stop. She has an addiction problem, clearly, because she keeps saying that she's not going to support the Liberals because of X, Y, and Z, because of how pro oil and gas they are. But she keeps going back to the crack pipe. And now she's got buyer's remorse. What do you do with an addict like this? Do you feel bad? Do you feel empathy? Are you supposed to be forgiving? Brush her hair like a pony? It's okay. It's okay. What are you supposed to do?
This all changed again when the federal government signed an agreement with Alberta that helps Premier Danielle Smith in her push for a pipeline. Green Party leader Elizabeth May joins me now. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, JP.
So you say you regret your decision to support the government on the recent budget vote. Tell me why.
I haven't said I regret it, and I don't regret it. And I know those clips could make it look like I was indecisive. I stuck to my guns. I said I can't support it as is. And
I actually negotiated in advance to get enhanced oil recovery not subsidized in the budget. And that was in writing in, on page 398, look it up, enhanced oil recovery is not going to qualify for subsidies. But I continued negotiating because we were surprised on November 4th to find that there were new subsidies for LNG. So really on those clips, what's missing, of course, is the Prime Minister standing on the floor of the House of Commons on the day of the vote, answering my question in question period and saying that he was and the government was committed to achieving Paris targets. So the MOU with Alberta on November 27th was a shock in a couple of directions, the largest being that what was specifically recorded in the budget at page 398, if anyone wants to check, says in black and white, enhanced oil recovery will not qualify for this subsidy. And then 10 days later, Premier Daniel Smith is promised the subsidies all over the place, many, many different kinds of subsidies, money pouring into Alberta for many things, but including specifically precluded in the budget document, enhanced oil recovery is now going to be eligible for the subsidies that it wasn't just 10 days earlier. And of course, all the other elements of saying that we'd consider lifting the tanker ban and we'll push hard for a bitumen pipeline. There were a lot of shockers there. And obviously I wasn't the only one shocked because Stephen Guilbeault left cabinet over it. So I'm someone who acts on principle and I don't regret how I voted. But
No. Elizabeth May didn't get anything out of this deal. She's trying to say that she got something, but it's what the Liberals were going to do anyways. This is weird. She was against it. Last minute, she changed her mind, and now she's trying to justify why she changed her mind, but there is nothing that was gained. If she gained something out of it, I understand selling your soul to the devil. I do. I don't condone it, but at least that's like you get closure on an answer there. She didn't get anything, at least not publicly. So it's very weird that she's trying now to defend it. First of all, she doesn't stand on any principles. She looked the camera dead in the eye a few months ago and said, I cannot support this budget. When I'm voting for this budget, the most important thing in my life is my granddaughter. And I don't want her living in a world where Canada rewards oil and gas and all that non-green shit. Okay. So I'm going to be voting with my granddaughter in mind because she's the most important thing in my life and blah, 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 blah. But then when it came time to actually stand on her principles, the blah, 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 blah part, none of that mattered. She went against her own word. And that's what I don't like. And I don't respect politicians that do that. I don't. Even if you know the outcome of standing up for yourself is going to be penalized in some sort of way, you have to be able to stand up for the truth. The truth is what matters the most at the end of the day. And there's different times in our lives where you're immediately rewarded or you're immediately punished. But the truth always wins no matter what. And if you're immediately punished because you're sharing the truth, then you get to live with yourself knowing that what you did was the right fucking thing. And eventually, karma has I'm not one into the universe stuff. Talk to me about rocks and I will walk away. But when it comes to this and you share the truth, and if you're immediately punished, I do think down the road, there's a way of it kind of working itself out to go back in your favor because you did the right thing. You stood on your principles. And when people don't do that, it's called selling your soul to the fucking devil. And politicians in Canada have pretty much unanimously done that. They don't know how to stand up for their own beliefs. She is a one-person party. The Green Party is non-existent without her. She has one thing to do. Try to block everything that is oil and gas. That's it. I don't even hate her for it because I understand that you're standing on your principle. You're not a flip-floppy witch. The Liberals are the flip-floppy ones. The NDPs are the flip-floppy ones. The Green Party, you know, will always side with the trees because that's what they stand on. And you just know it's predictable. You don't have to like it, but some people live under that ideology, and that's how they choose to live. And they live and breathe and will die with that ideology. And that is something that I respect, and most of us can respect, even though you don't like it and you don't necessarily understand it or appreciate it, whatever. At least you're standing on conviction, your firm beliefs. But when you break that exact foundation of who you are as a person, what your beliefs are as a person, whoo, all respect gone. All respect gone. I don't particularly like Elizabeth May. And I don't particularly like the Green Party. I do have a bit of a soft spot personally for the green stuff because I lived in a van for 5 years and it was powered by solar, and I lived like a hippie and it was awesome and I like it, and I am a bit of a hippie. I wear sandals year round if I can. It's a little bit difficult when the snow starts going over the lip of the sandal. That's when I put socks on, and then I do the socks and sandals thing until my foot gets soaked, and then I go to the boots. Okay, that's how I do it. But that's just me. You don't have to like solar. You don't have to like green energy. You don't have to like any of that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, most of us respect people that will live and breathe and die by a certain set of beliefs. And it's the wishy-washiness where people just start to lose respect. And Elizabeth May crossed that line. She crossed that line. She's too wishy-washy now.
I voted based on trusting that the Prime Minister would keep his word, and that's where I went wrong.
Do you think the Prime Minister misled you then? Do you feel betrayed by him?
I feel betrayed by the reversal on a key promise that was made. And I know that in public interviews, Stephen Guilbeault has said that he also was asking the Prime Minister, you know, how, you know, he asked himself, how do I look at myself in the mirror, as he said on Tout le monde en parle. But the other question, of course, being that how could this be that a government would tell an opposition party leader, in order to get my vote, it's in the budget, and it was in black and white in the budget, and then reverse that within 10 days. So that was shocking. I don't know if the Prime Minister deliberately misled me, but what I can say without a shadow of a doubt is that the Prime Minister's word doesn't mean much to him. And that is a surprise, because I you know, not to go on too long, JP, but I'd inferred from the Prime Minister's reluctance to say on the record that he supported the Paris Agreement and supported our targets in previous interviews. That meant that if he did say he supported it, he'd be honor bound to deliver on that. That's why I thought he was evasive in the past, saying, you know, I believe in results, not objectives.
Yep.
So I didn't think that the Prime Minister's word meant so little to him. And it's the kind of shock that means I know I can't again think, oh, well, I can trust this government. I can trust this Prime Minister to keep his word. No, I can't. So I won't be voting confidence in the government again.
But we also can't trust Elizabeth May to keep her word. So again, you got one finger pointing at others and three pointing back at yourself. And Elizabeth May has found herself lumped in with the same distrust, with the same flip-floppiness that the Liberals are known for and the NDP are known for. And for what? She's trying to claim that she doesn't regret voting the way she did, yet everything she's saying sounds like guilt, sounds like a little bit of remorse, sounds like regret to me. Not that I'm an expert in those things, but it just sounds like a little bit of spaghetti regretty.
As you know, has kind of pitched this as a way to restore national unity. You know, Alberta has been feeling on the outs for a number of years now. They feel like Justin Trudeau really attacked their main sector, put the jobs on the line with some of these environmental policies that Guilbeault and Trudeau pushed for a long time. You know, Premier Danielle Smith herself said Justin Trudeau started the Western separatist movement, and now Carney may be the guy that can patch things up. Do you not see the value in restoring harmony in the Federation?
If that's what was being accomplished, sure. But let's face it, Justin Trudeau built Danielle Smith a pipeline. It cost the people of Canada $34 billion. Kinder Morgan, the Texas private sector company, had pulled out, gone back to Texas, laughing all the way to the bank. It took the federal government to build the Trans Mountain Pipeline over the objection of First Nations, over the objection of the government of British Columbia. But now we're talking about another pipeline. They call it a bitumen pipeline in the MOU. If they want to ship bitumen, they can ship it with existing infrastructure by rail to the Port of Vancouver and put it in container ships and avoid all this dispute. But let's face it, what this was about was giving Danielle Smith whatever she wanted. And it includes billions of dollars to subsidies to fossil fuel companies, some of the wealthiest companies on earth. It includes billions to build a brand new nuclear industry within Alberta, again, without consultation with First Nations. And it includes the notion that this pipeline, which is not a bitumen pipeline, of course, they can't put bitumen, which is a solid, in a pipeline, but diluted bitumen is very dangerous, more dangerous than shipping bitumen as a solid. And they've said in the MOU, the proponent is the province of Alberta. And the only private sector condition is that there be private sector financing. I'm appalled by the all-in nature of the Prime Minister's commitment to deliver something to Alberta while ignoring the concerns of British Columbia, ignoring the concerns of First Nations. That's not how you build a country. And there's enough nation-building projects that benefit Alberta and benefit the Alberta economy without sacrificing the commitments to the Paris Agreement, which are legally binding commitments of the Government of Canada. And the Prime Minister's MOU with Danielle Smith belies his commitment on the floor of the House of Commons November 17th, much less actually, I don't know how you erase something you've put in the budget so quickly, but they clearly have. It was shocking for me, but obviously even more shocking for former Minister Stephen Guilbeault.
The federal government has the constitutional power, really, to push something like this through. Obviously, there has to be consultations. I take your point that has not really gone on to this point with.
I actually respect. This sounds crazy, and I hope I don't eat these words, but I respect the fact that Stephen Guilbeault was so angry about how Carney is going into the pipeline stuff that he just quit cabinet. I actually respect that. Like, if you're going to be a part of something that goes against what you stand for, then maybe, and you can't seem to change it, then maybe you're just in the wrong area, right? Like, he walked away from something that stood against who he is as a person. Like, I can respect that move. I don't respect Stephen Guilbeault. Don't get that mixed. But the move of him leaving cabinet is actually one of the more, it's probably the only thing in his career that I respect, to be honest.
BC or First Nations, but we've seen from the BC top court, reaffirmed by the Supreme Court, BC does not have a veto, and what the government has to do with First Nations is consult with them. There's nothing about a veto in the recent rulings on the Trans Mountain Pipeline. How far are you willing to go to try and stop this pipeline if they do decide to charge ahead despite some of the opposition?
I think there's something about integrity and believability. We're on a path to reconciliation. I thought we were in this country. So under Section 35 of the Constitution, yes, there's a requirement for consulting with rights holders. Earlier today, the Assembly of First Nations assembled, all of the First Nations assembled in the gathering in Ottawa, passed a unanimous resolution against the MOU with Alberta because of the threat to existing agreements, treaties, and ongoing work with the coastal British Columbia First Nations. But as I said before, also, Alberta First Nations were not consulted about how they feel about a nuclear industry and nuclear waste in their territories. There's also, of course, the fact that Canada committed ourselves to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which is free, prior, and informed consent, none of which has occurred here. So, I mean, and in that studio, although it was David Cochrane in the chair, pretty famously now, Tim Hodgson, the energy minister, said, well, I'll consult with First Nations on Zoom. This is a rollback to a more colonial, exploitative period that is really shocking to me when I think of all the work that needs to be done to show respect and work towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. You just don't wave that away. And I guess this current government thinks you can wave it away and pretend it's not important. I think it's important to many Canadians that we live up to our word as a country and respect treaty rights and the relationship between the Crown and Indigenous peoples across Canada.